Davies versus Moffat. Not since the prequel versus original trilogy has there ever been such a divide among sci-fi franchises. Both were showrunners during important points of Doctor Who's history. Both have made massive impacts on the series on a whole. Davies revived the show and made it popular in his home country of the UK, and Moffat saw its rise to global stardom. But in the end, everyone comes down on his side, and I have mine. Russell T Davies. But why is that? Well, I have 5 reasons why I like Russell T Davies over Stephen Moffat, and I'm going to go to that in depth. Now remember, this is all subjective, so no opinion is right and wrong. Besides, it's not like we're comparing it to the classic series or Big Finish. Am I right? Am I right? Easy winner there. But enough talk. Let's get into it. Allons-y. So my first big reason to why I like Russell T Davies over Stephen Moffat is how he treated the Daleks. Now, just so you know, I'm a major Dalek fanboy. I love the Daleks. I have Dalek toys, I have the official Dalek handbook, and I just love stories involving Daleks. And to me, love or hate the story that the Daleks actually appear in, I've always felt Davies treated the Daleks with gravitas and respect. Each time they appeared on screen, they always had a certain, presence, shall I say, to them. Be it their reintroduction episode Dalek, considered by many a mainstay of New Who, their Series 1 finale appearance, and of course my personal favorite 2 episodes, Stolen Earth, Journey's End, where they were treated with fear and respect they deserve. Moffat, on the other hand, hardly utilizes the Daleks, at all in fact. Even in episodes that I like, such as Magician's Apprentice and The Witch's Familiar, they're really just henchmen for Davros. And the last time they actually killed was in Series 8, and less said about Asylum of the Daleks, the better. Now to be fair, both Davies and Moffat have never captured the complexity of the Daleks that, say, Big Finish or the classic series had. But at the end of the day, I believe Davies tried, and in most cases succeeded, in giving the Doctor's greatest enemies their fair due. If there was one thing I like about the Davies era, it's its sense of progression, and nothing capitalized on that more than giving the Doctor a family. His team to say, be it Captain Jack, Martha Jones, Sarah Jane, etc., etc. The idea of the Doctor having people around him who weren't just the companion or former companions made the world much larger and gave it more depth. Sadly, though, Moffat tends to return to the same team of Madame Vastra, Jenny, and Strax during his series, and never really gives the Doctor any other friends outside of his companions. And while I enjoy them, it makes the universe feel small and less lived in. And I also feel as if the Doctor isn't making an impact on anyone anymore. He isn't creating allies, making new friends, building a team around him. Which is sad, because I love the idea of the Doctor's family and wish we got to see more of them. I mean, I think Captain Jack would have been very useful at the Battle of Demon's Run, don't you think? I mean, come on, really? Really? Well, that's reason 4. On to reason 3. Now, this may sound a bit harsh to say, but I think Davies better represents the classic series in New Who than Moffat does. Now, that isn't to say Moffat doesn't love the classic series or he doesn't respect them. What I do mean is Moffat tries way too hard to change up major important details of the classic series with his own retcons, and that it comes off as a bit disrespectful. One of the biggest changes, of course, was the Doctor leaving Gallifrey because he was scared of the hybrid. Now, that isn't to say Classic Who didn't do this as well. In remembrance of the Daleks, they changed the reasons for the Doctor leaving because he needed to hide something from the Daleks. Heck, even Big Finish pretty much states that the Doctor left Gallifrey for bigger reasons. But I think both of those reasons don't trample on the original idea to why the Doctor left Gallifrey. Because, in the words of the second Doctor, he wanted to help those in need. Plus, of course, other things Moffat does as well kind of contradict the classic series in major, kind of disrespectful ways, such as making Clara the reason the Doctor has companions in the first place, and also little nitpicks here and there. But on the whole, I feel like Davies better represents the classic series in New Who than Moffat did. That's just my opinion. Now to reason 2 of why I like Davies over Moffat. Now, this is more of a continuation of the previous reason, but it's also a bit personal as well. The reason why I like Davies over Moffat is simply because he used the classic villains more. Moffat, not until Series 8, never really used any of the classic villains. He had to use the Daleks, of course, for legal reasons, but he never used anything like the Master or Davros. We had to wait until Capaldi came in before we got those characters back, which is why I always can't like Smith over Capaldi more in terms of Moffat era Doctor Who, because, well, Smith never fought the Master, and I really like the Master. It's just not Doctor Who without the Master. That's a big problem for me. That's sort of like a no-no in Doctor Who. But you have these classic villains, why aren't you playing with them? I would love to play with Davros and the Master in terms of story potential anytime. I mean, yeah, you should create your own villains, and I don't mind that, but I feel like he didn't use them well enough, or didn't use them at all. I feel like he's just finally getting around to it. While Davies, on the other hand, he knew to reintroduce these villains and knew to give them both gravitas and respect. Like him or love him, that I think he's something you can't deny he did pretty, if not well, at least he tried and respected for it. But after all this, there is one reason above them all, which is why I prefer Russell T Davies over Stephen Moffat. Now, the final reason why I like Russell T Davies over Stephen Moffat is that at the end of the day, I think Davies knew Doctor Who wasn't his. What do I mean? I mean that, well, Davies left. He knew that he could no longer go on. That no matter what happened, Doctor Who would continue even after he was done. Davies knew that when his time was to go. Moffat, on the other hand, he implants himself too much into the show and makes the show too much of his own creation, be it with the really weird retcons, the great changes of status quo, heck, even bringing Gallifrey back to a certain degree, I think, harmed the show. It is one thing to try and put your own style into the show and even give your own vision. That's fine. Everyone has their own unique spin on Doctor Who. It's another thing to treat the show as it's your own creation, and not to respect or even acknowledge, or at least act as if the people who came before or after you don't matter. And I don't know if Moffat intentionally does that. I don't think he does. But that's how it comes off in certain cases. That's why ongoing franchises such as Batman or Superman work, because whoever's in charge of that series, they know they're just one small piece of a much larger puzzle. And by Moffat treating Doctor Who too much of his own creation, and not just being a small piece of a larger puzzle, he's doing damage not just to himself, but also to the show in some cases, and sometimes letting his own ego get the best of him, in my own personal opinion. And while you might not like Russell T Davies' era, and even say that Davies himself had some ego, at least Davies left and knew that his time was up. And I think he left just at the right time, because love or hate end of time, I think that was just the perfect time to go. While Moffat stayed way too long, and for a good point where, at this point I think, at least until of this recording, Doctor Who's getting a little stale, at least in terms of television. And for that is the ultimate reason why I like Davies over Moffat. So that is my own little spin on the whole Davies versus Moffat debate. I'd like to know what you think. Leave a comment below. Let me know. Like and subscribe. And check out my podcast, The Imperial HoloNet, if you can. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sorry if my voices sound weird. I don't have a very good microphone. This is also a very scripted 5-reason list. This part isn't scripted. I decided to go off the cuff for this finale. So tell me what you think, and see you next time. Later.